Hi, my name is Rochelle, and welcome to the Minecraft Education Edition Esports Live Series. So last time, we talked about what esports is, and we talked about a lot of facts about it. And today, we will be talking about esports as a game-based learning. Now, let's start with what is a game-based learning? So, what is a game-based learning? Game-based learning is a relatively new field in education. It can be described as using games in educational contexts to reach educational objectives. All forms of game-based or games can be used for game-based learning, including traditional board games. However, the terms most commonly refers to the use of digital or video games as a tool for classroom learning. And in this context, it refers to as digital game-based. Now, game-based learning, however, is associated with constructivism theories of learning, where knowledge is actively learned through participation in socially constructed through interacting and learning with others, and is influenced by personal experience. Now, the educational foundation for game-based learning draw from the concepts such as the pedagogy of play, situated learning, self-directed learning, and mastery learning. We explore this in more depth here and examine how coupling digital games and play with effective pedagogy can positively shape attitudes to failure, support the development of crucial learning to learn skills, as well as provide a safe environment for learners to develop complex cognitive, social, and emotional skills that supports academic achievement. Now, the pedagogy of play, the value of play in children's learning has long been established in developmental education. Play is an innately intuitive medium for children's learning and can enhance childhood development from 33 to 67%, supporting the growth of a wide range of skills, including intellectual, problem solving and logic and IQ, social, emotional, and physical development, where it is also an important development or it is an important research by American Psychology Association that video games provide same opportunity to develop emotional mastery and social competence as those provided and explored through children's play, including opportunities to explore and resolve issues of dominance, anxiety, growth, and so on. Now, the playful learning associated with game-based learning and digital game-based learning and their links with developing complex, cognitive, and social and emotional skills can offer many opportunities for classroom learning. Now, for the situated learning, when students immerse themselves in virtual worlds and actively solve problems, puzzles, and challenges to achieve a predefined goal, it can be considered as situated learning, wherein situated learning is an instructional approach based on the theoretical foundations proposed by constructivists Dewey and Vygotsky that suggest students learn by active participating in the learning experience and by learning theories that criticize the abstract and unrealistic nature of classroom learning. Now, in practice, it requires the educator to create a situational context for learning and outcome that enables our students to develop skills and knowledge that can be transferred and applied to other problems and challenges. So for self-directed learnings, contrary to popular belief that self-directed learning is about independent, isolating, and solitary ways of learning, The concept stems for the idea that students should become independent thinkers through a combination of approaches that involves giving the learner more choice in how and what they learn, and empowering them to make more decisions about their own learning. Wherein a self-directed learning increasingly becomes recognized as a 21st century skills, where schools are beginning to tap into a wide range of technologies to support learners in developing skills in independent learning. Digital game-based learning can be described as self-directed to some extent and being driven by a combination of learner initiated activities and game mechanics. Now, for the mastery of learning, digital game-based learning also tends itself to mastery learning approaches, where students are given time to repeated opportunities to improve their skills until they reach a desired level of expertise. Where because of mechanics that allows for tracking, scoring, and progress monitoring, that often players have many lives, they actually being reinforced the concept that failure is nothing to be ashamed of, where in fact it is a useful signpost indicating where further practice is needed. So where we can let them practice more, and do not be afraid of failing, because there's something that they could be allowed to repeat the things that they haven't done yet. Now, second, game-based learning in practice. So game-based learning have been fairly well established in schools across the world for a number of years. Now, in 2013, 74% of K-8 educators across US said that they use video games in class. And in 2015, 64% of K-12 educators use video games for the purpose of teaching. And in 2018, 74% of parents agreed that video games have educational benefits. Now, they suggest provide similar scaffolds for learning as are found in high-quality learning environment, including clear goals, motivation, opportunities for practice, reinforcing expertise, feedback, progress monitoring, engagement, planning, fun failure, choice, agency, and problem-based learning. Number 3, why do video games engage? Now, there are many perspectives on what exactly makes digital game-based learning is so successful in developing the whole range of skills and competencies. Now, one of many arguments is that game-based learning isn't something that is only happening in school. It is actually something that is so deeply embedded in youth culture that critical 21st century skills and competencies are being developed through children and adolescents' play, leisure, and social activities. Now, in participation in completely voluntary that children want to take part of. Now, researchers suggest that games are engaging because people of actually all ages like to be in control of what's on the screen, and games offer in this control in a continuing basis, and we all know how it feels like. In addition, games can give children and adolescents a strong sense of mastery and competence, and this can make an individual feel empowered. Now, small continual doses of confidence-boosting feeling of mastery are, of course, somewhat addictive. And in addition to that, to foster the feelings of controls and mastery, other reasons that games are believed to be so engaging are because players are motivated to by a range of factors seamlessly offered by games and their environments, including social interactions, competition, and escapism. Now, here, in figure number 16, so as you can see, what we have here are too much screen time, violence or addictive behavior, isolating, it promotes laziness, toxic culture. Despite of the digital game-based learning becomingly a wide established practice in the classroom, the fears about the impact of screen time, like what I mentioned, addictive or violent behavior, are still pervasive. Now, McGonigal in 2011, an advocate of play and game-based learning, argues that it is time for us to reconsider the negative connotation that we associated with video games, that they are escapist or time wasters. And instead of begin to harness their incredible power, research in this field has increased over the last 10 years with numerous advances from the field of neurology, medicine, psychology, and education illustrating the positive impacts. They explore more fully in following sections. Now here, as we can see on the screen, we address the primary concerns of educators when it comes to using video games in the classroom and explore the ways in which educators themselves can play a primary role in transforming the future of gaming, wherein we will be able to see here the concerns, how to imbalance it, what's the role of the educators. And here it is flashed on the screen where we could also share this to you in the upcoming series. Now, of course, there are benefits of digital game-based learning that our children's and even all ages are actually adopting. First, video games and the 21st century classroom. Video games are accepted part of almost all children's lives, with 97% playing of at least 1 hour per day in the US. However, actually all over the world, there is now a growing interest in the use of digital tools in the classroom. And with this comes the exploration of video games for learning and assessment. Now, this movement is in part driven by a recognition of an emerging digital economy, the digital skills gap, or a shortfall between the number of digital jobs and the number of employees with appropriate skills to fill them, and the demands of 21st century skills in place of employment and within a technology advising society. In addition to the development of cognitive skills and academic achievement, there is a plethora of research that identifies benefits across a range of domains, including pro-social skills, social and emotional skills, self-determination and self-efficacy, decision-making and risk-taking, and physical, emotional, and mental health and well-being. A report of American Psychological Association found positive impacts relating to 4 broad areas. First is the cognitive function. Video game has been shown to improve attention, focus, and reaction time. And we can see that from our children's or from our students playing video games. Motivation. Video games inspire intrinsic rather than extrinsic motivation, wherein, as I've mentioned, or as mentioned a while ago, everyone actually, most especially the children, want to be part of. And next is social, where gamers are able to transfer the pro-social skills that they learn from multiplayer gameplay to peer and family relations. And of course, the social and emotional skills, where games include positive mood states and help players to develop effective responses to failure. They also being able to manage complex emotion and relate to others, of course. Number 2, the benefits of digital game-based learning. Now, before we explore the range of cognitive benefits identified in the research, it is worth pointing out that since the research disciplines span cognitive and behavioral science, neurology, psychology, and education, there may be some differences in terminology. Now, in education, we might expect cognitive benefits to relate the problem solving, critical thinking, reasoning, and so on. Now, refers to as cognitive skills. Now, however, in neurology, this relate to a range of other benefits are referred to as cognitive functions. We explore all of these cognitive benefits and their relationship to learning below. First, the cognitive benefits. A number of studies from the field of medicine and neuroscience suggest that people who regularly play action video games develop superior cognitive functions. This includes faster and more efficient attention, memory, and executive control, sensory processing, and spatial and visual performance. Playing video games improves, first, the ability to process information very quickly in parallel at times, and from the range of different sources and without being distracted. A research study showed that doctors who spend at least 3 hours a week playing video games made about 30% or 37% fewer mistakes in surgery and performed the task 20% or 27% faster than non-gaming surgeons. Second, the brain's ability to change and improve over time, wherein ordinarily cognitive functions decline with age because video gaming places complex motor and cognitive demands on specific parts of the brain. Gamers have shown increases in gray matter in parts of the brain, crucial for spatial navigation, strategic planning, working memory, and motor performances. Third, multitasking, prioritization, and the ability to determine what is and is not of relevance for a given task. Recent neurology studies suggest that associated with increases the attention behavior are some complex changes in the brain that enable video game players to filter out irrelevant tasks. And number 4, decision-making and reaction time. Video gamers or people who play action-based video games make decisions faster than others. And importantly, they do this without sacrificing accuracy, according to the study from the University of Rochester. The studies have shown that non-gamers can improve their decision-making after 10 to 50 hours of video game playing or video game play. Number 5, visual learning and visualization, wherein playing fast-paced, unpredictable action video games help tune players' visual skills. These are related more generally to spatial cognition and are essential for successful problem-solving in science, technology, engineering and mathematics, education, and occupation. Visualization is an advanced cognitive strategy and can play a powerful role in problem-solving strategies, particularly in STEM discipline. Number 6, spatial abilities, where playing action video games improve the ability to track objects, moving at greater speed, detecting changes to objects stored in a visual short-term memory, switching quickly from one task to another, and mentally rotating objects. These abilities have been found to correlate with the success in STEM subjects such as math, science, engineering, and they're associated with improved performance or standardized tests and in the choice of mathematics and science as major in college. And last but not the least, studies or students' ability to develop important learning to learn skill, where research proposed that these learning to learn skills developed through playing action games could provide templates for high impact learning, and that in the longer term video game play may delay or even intellectual, cognitive, and motor function that occurs as part of the aging process. It is very important to stress that these cognitive gains are evidence or from playing action video games and may not arise from the kinds of games such as puzzle or role-playing games. Cognitive skills, problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, and adaptability. Beyond the field of neurology and cognitive science and their work on action video games, a number of studies have explored the wider cognitive benefits of playing a range of video games, including action, role-play, puzzle games, and serious games. Now, one of the reasons that video games might be so successful in developing these areas of cognitive capabilities or capacities is because of the way in which problems, obstacles, and challenges are situated in an immersive, contextualized setting. It is widely accepted that games provide situated problem-solving environments in which players are immersed in a culture and a way of thinking. Now, here are some summary of research finding in this area. Digital game-based learning, or DGBL, can help improve problem solving by developing visualization skill in graphically rich virtual worlds. Now, digital game-based learning researchers suggest that the immersive world designed by game developers provide important visual scaffold or visual structure for learners. And it is important for educators because visualization is through or are thought to play an important role in multitude of cognitive functions such as finding patterns, problem solving, reasoning, and memory, as well as playing a central role in sense making and efficient knowledge transfer. Second is it improves students' collaborative problem solving skills. Massive multiplayer online role-play game have been demonstrated to be conducive environments for developing problem-solving skills because they include all the characteristics of problem solving. It includes problem presentation, conditions, goals, procedures, strategies, and meta-strategies, as well as shared practice typically found in problem-solving context within formal and informal instructional concept. The debriefing, theorizing about the problem space, apprenticeship, and valuing of seeking out challenges just beyond and current level of one's ability. Third, promote high-level critical thinking and reflection. A digital game-based learning study conducted with 8th grade social studies classes showed that DGBL, or digital game-based learning, and particular cycle of gameplay were effective in promoting higher levels of critical thinking, including development of independent beliefs, and providing opportunities for guided reflection. Fourth, faster the development of suite of critical thinking skills, including reasoning, judgment, and decision making. One study used community forums to track player discussions. Findings showed that 86% of the conversation taking place between community members was productive discussion, critical analysis, and problem solving, including argument, counter-argument, and use of evidence. Participants were shown to engage in high-level literacy, math, and science reasoning practices. Number 5, develop 21st century skills such as adaptability, persistence, and resourcefulness. A study that investigated the impacts of adult learners using commercial games such as Minecraft and Portal 2 showed significant gain in adaptability and resourcefulness after only a short period of practice, 14 hours of gameplay actually, when compared to a control group playing 2D puzzle games. Another recent study showed that practice with Portal 2 led to substantial improvements in problem solving, spatial skills, and persistence. So more so than training with the popular brain training games. And last but not the least, enhance creativity and creative thinking. Now, in one study among a sample of almost 500 12-year-old students, video game playing was positively associated with creativity. A multidimensional measure of creativity was used to test creative thinking. Results indicate that greater video game playing was associated with greater creativity, regardless of the gender or race. Another study of students explored Minecraft and modding, where making modifications to a game's functionality through commands or code. It illustrated how the game narrative of Robinson Crusoe created the context of rich learning experience, where students become inventors and creators rather than mere players by devising codes in process referred as modding to reshape the game to their own specification. Now, in motivation, video games are designed to make people want to play them. And with the growing realization that this aspect of popular culture is consumed across our whole society, cognitive scientists have become increasingly interested in how we might be able to leverage the huge motivational power of video games and the potential of the large communities of players. When an individual's motivation to play a video game is purely for enjoyment, without any external pressure, it is described as intrinsic motivation. Now, game designers have to obtain a very careful balance by creating environments that encourage players to work toward meaningful goals, persevere in the face of multiple failure, and celebrates the rare moments of triumph after successfully completing challenge tasks. Now, to do this, game designers use the number of tools to encourage engagement with the game. Now, here are the tools to encourage engagement with the game. First, continual feedback in the forms of points, coins, lives, etc. This is said to have a large influence over motivation because it serves to balance challenges and frustration with experience of success and competency. It is essence a form of self-assessment in practice. The feedback provides in games enable players to perform a level above their previous attempts. Or skills level is associated with positive mood state, flow states, and intrinsic motivation. Second, failure, where we use this to motivate our players and help them value the goal or the prize. Game teach players that persistence in the face of failure to reap valued rewards. A great deal of research shows the way in which video game players react differently to failure, using it as a stepping stone to improvement, honing skills, and eventually success. Now, a study of gamers playing Monkey Bowling 2 showed indications of positive effect rather than negative effect following errors in gameplay. Third is the flow experience. Now, flow is a state that returns from a phase of gameplay that is neither overly challenging or overly uninteresting. The phase of play enables the player to become fully immersed and inhabit a mental zone associated with creativity, discovery, or a feeling of being transported to a new reality. Flow is of significant interest to researchers since it is associated with deep engagement, motivation, and enhanced learning. Persistence and the effort that a student or a player puts into achieving a goal is influenced by these motivational factors. Of particular significance for educators is the factor relatedness, largely because it is one of the only factors in the list that the educators has any influence over. The research or relatedness points to the quality of relationship between students as indicated by a sense of belonging and acceptance. While this sense of development by activities in-game, there may be a role for educators in encouraging peer interaction and indeed elucidating the positive behavior that lead to good peer relationship to make this often hidden learning visible for all students. For social, collaboration and cooperation are highly desirable 21st century skills, and they appear to be a nascent part of youth gaming culture, particularly in the case of multiplayer game. Now, the data from the Entertainment Software Association suggests that over 70% of gamers play game with a friend, either in a collaborative format or as opponent in the competitive format. In addition to gameplay between friends, some type of games, typically MMORPG, can bring together people from all over the world who formerly were strangers and for the purpose of playing together. Now, playing multiplayer video games can first help develop 21st century skills, communication and collaboration skills, where a large body of research has demonstrated that digital gameplay provides optimal opportunities for individuals to develop collaboration, communication, and negotiation skills, as well as suite of literacies related to interacting with different texts and forms of communication into a digital environment. It has been argued that video game play itself is a form of digital literacy practice, and an online communities that support gaming collectively read and write huge collection of multimodal texts as part of their play. Online discussion threads, fan fictions, and digital fan arts. Second, it helps group bond through the creation of shared intentions and goals, where a 2017 study showed that multiplayer gamers are designed to increase shared group norms, social identity, and joint commitment between individuals in game. Now, one of the most important research findings illustrated how these apparent strangers develop shared intentions and goals. The work showed that the shared goals referred to as we intentions were crucial in helping a bond and unite individuals. Third, enhanced learning by fostering a culture of participation, interaction, cooperation, and experimentation. According to Squire in 2011, social interactions in gaming culture are two of the most critical aspects of learning through games alongside content, goals, and continuous problem solving. He suggests that it may not be the game that is the driver of the learning, rather the game merely foster a particularly or participatory environment for experimentation, systematical thinking, and authentic participation. And last but not the least, act as a test bed for developing adolescents' pro-social skill, where much of this research across very diverse field continues to point to social engagement and interactivity between peers, friends, and even strangers as one of the most crucial aspects of game-based learning. It is it is from these rich social contexts that social knowledge is being actively constructed and where opportunities for learning pro-social skills in a safe test bed environment are presented. Social and emotional skills. Game-based learning has the potential to foster the growth of both intrapersonal skill relating to self and intrapersonal skill where skills relating to others. Players begin to establish a sense of individual identity through growing self-esteem, competence, and self-efficacy, while peer relationship and collaborative gameplay help shape collective identity and the formation of we intentions, developing shared goals, a common language, and a context of relating to each other. Now, social and emotional learning, sometimes referred as social and emotional literacy, in young people has been shown to be related to a wide range of well-being outcomes, including reducing stress and anxiety and improving coping abilities, reducing aggression, and reducing probability of drugs and alcohol addiction, to name a few. As well as increasing the capacity of students to learn and to relate and connect to each other, which consequently has a positive impact on performance in test and attainment in school grades. Now, research in the field of game-based learning indicate that highly social and interactive nature games help children to develop social and emotional competencies. Games that require strategic thinking, role-playing, discussion, problem-solving, and collaboration encourage players to balance personal goals with the needs of their peers while managing a range of complex emotional, such as frustration, in order to play cooperatively. Second, games provoke a range of emotions in player, where while gaming has been cited as one of the most common and effective way that young people use to generate positive feelings, lead to an improvement in mood, feelings or relaxations, feelings of being in flow, and reduction in anxiety. In actual in actual fact, playing video games elicits the range of both positive and negative emotions. Negative emotions may include frustration, anger, disappointment, and sadness. Now, here educators are presented with an opportunity to explore emotions and emotional regulation through SEL teaching strategies. Third, flow or transportation in games in link to positive outcomes for students. Flow experiences occurs when players are deeply immersed in gameplay. These states of immersion have been linked to high levels of creativity, commitment and motivation, as well as high achievement in school or in high school. It is also thought to lead increased self-esteem and reduce anxiety. Next, the pretend element of games makes them a safe space for experimentation and failure. Now, much like traditional forms of play, the pretend element of games provide enough of a real challenge to make winning or achievement meaningful, but safe enough to offer practice in failure, loss, or errors. This safe environment creates opportunities for children to play out both positive and negative emotions, developing strategies and tools that will enable them to recognize, regulate, and control their emotions. Number 5, playing pro-social video games led to pro-social behaviors out of game. In a study of 252 students who self-identified as video game players, participants who reportedly playing cooperatively and or competitively with other players were more likely to report engaging in helping behaviors during the gameplay. And were more likely to report engaging in helping behavior throughout the school year. Number 6, games provide a context for individuals to encourage in ethical reasoning. Research investigated the kinds of choices and decisions players make when adopting different characters as part of MRPG. The role-playing games are open-ended, enabling individuals to play any numbers of diverse characters and engage in a range of pro and anti-social behavior. This empathy or this particular study showed that these games provide the context of individuals to encourage ethical reasoning and may lead into individual developing empathy, tolerance, and understanding for others, attributes requires for 21st century global citizenship. And last but not the least, game provide opportunities for students to develop self-confidence and self-efficacy. Players' self-confidence and self-esteem increase as they begin to master games. In many games, the level of difficulty and adjustable beginning at the easy level to slowly building skills, responding to feedback and failure, become confident in handling more difficult challenges. Now, third is inclusion. Now, throughout the review of literature for this section, there have been numerous examples of cases where the impact of video game play serves to include those that may, to some extent, be marginalized from classroom learning. Now, there are many instances that children with physical disabilities cannot take part in sports or school games activities. However, video games that that require the strategy, problem solving, and collaboration offer new ways for all students to be able to participate in games education. Now, video gameplay may enhance learning in students who are non-neurotypical. A number of studies have explored the effects of using digital game-based learning in video games with children and adolescents who have autism. Research suggests that autistic children can excel in DGBL environments, which has the impact of boosting confidence and can have self-calming effects for the individual. Now, video games that are linked to biofeedback or brainwaves may be able to help children with attention deficit disorder. Research showed that over time, some patients can learn to modulate brain waves associated with focusing. In the longer terms, this may lead to improvements in grades, sociability, and organizational skills, among others. Now, furthermore, some research exists that suggests dyslexic children improve reading and speed and attentional abilities after playing an action video game. Video game play may help children who are labeled as disenfranchised participate. A pilot study using esports in a school in Kansas saw students' attendance improve to 94%, where the goal was 85% only, as well as improvements in grades which were boosted to 1.5 GPA above the school average. Teachers at the school commented that the children who were attending were those who normally feel like they do not fit in the social group and extracurricular clubs. Now, a survey involving almost 700 K-8 teachers across the U.S. identified game as having beneficial impacts for all the learners. But groups of students who benefited most were low-performing students. Now, students with emotional or behavioral issues and students with cognitive and developmental issues. Others suggest that the accessibility offered by game and digital game-based learning can create positive shifts in learning identity, where learners with low ability have fresh opportunities to leave behind their classroom, tagged as low achievers, and instead of forge a new identity for themselves as they work towards mastery of games. Overcoming barrier. Now, digital game-based learning has been fairly well established in classroom in Europe and in the United States for over a decade. A number of teacher surveys have been conducted to determine the extent to which digital game-based learning is occurring in classroom. A study by Future Lab in the UK in 2009 took place with 1,600 teachers across primary and secondary school. In 2013, the Joan Gans Cooney Center conducted a survey with 700 K-8 teachers from across the United States, and an international survey collected responses from almost 700 primary and secondary teachers across 34 countries in 2016. While the survey took place at different times and in different countries, many of these teachers cite similar barriers to digital game-based learning, including lack of computers, lack of time, and time needed for preparation for school and national testing. And in the international survey, a significant number of teachers felt that educational games are poorly designed, do not capture imagination and interest of children, and does not fit in purpose. Now, in this section, we review findings, one of the most in-depth reports, Level Up in Learning by the Joan Ganz Kuhn Center. Now, what do we mean by DGBL? The Level Up Learning survey showed that 74% of K-8 teachers report using digital game-based learning for instruction, or digital games for instruction, with more than half of these teachers reporting to do so at least weekly. While encouraging, the survey digs deep into the classroom activities, the profile of teachers themselves, and the ways or in which teachers measure and perceives impacts. The report raises concern over the narrow range of game genres used by these teachers, with few using immersive and adventure games that lend themselves to deep exploration and participation in the type of activities that set digital games apart from more didactic from forms of instructions. While education or educational games have their place in the classroom, findings in the report question whether teachers who say they undertake DGBL are missing out of the huge opportunities for cognitive and 21st century skill development that video games are innately good at eliciting, over preferences for teaching context knowledge via math or science game. The next image will illustrate the game genres used by teachers participating in the survey. Next, please. The report states in no uncertain terms the genre of games chosen from classroom learning matters. In particular, they point to the vast opportunities offered by entertainment, commercial off the shelf, evidenced by the body of research that shows how they develop skills and knowledge that transfer to real-world situation. The authors of Level Up Learning suggest that consideration should be given to why there is an almost complete absence of role-playing games from K-8 classroom. Given the benefits these games have demonstrated in players' problem-solving skills and critical thinking, it is clear that among the sample of teachers surveyed in this report, digital game-based learning means using educational games, not the action adventure video games or strategic multiplayer role-play games that have been associated with 21st century skills and cognitive development reviewed in other section of this document. Therefore, what we meant by the digital game-based learning are the games that are meant to using educational games. Now, barriers to DGBL or digital game-based learning. The Level Up survey conducted in the US investigated the barrier that teachers face using the video games as part of their curriculum teaching practices. The surveys asked both teachers who use the video games in the classroom or game using teachers, as well teachers who do not use video games as part of their own classroom practice or non-game using teachers. This figure identifies the 12 barriers reported by teachers. Interesting, both set of teachers identified the same barriers. The Level Up Learning Survey found 12 different barriers that teachers face when implementing digital game-based learning in the classroom, with time pressure, cost, technical resources, and uncertainties ranking the highest. We've categorized the common barriers and obstacles to digital game-based learning as follows. Number 1 is curriculum, number 2 is time pressure, number 3 is cost, and the teacher's proficiency with technology. Now, for time pressure, alongside cost, time constraints was one of the biggest concerns for educators. Timetabling issues often means that teachers have class times of 40 to 55 minutes, which can be restrictive in enabling the kind of gameplay that enables deep exploration in learning in DGBL. Now, the time pressure cited in the report also refers to teachers concerned over assessment and testing. Now, 14% of teachers cite standardized tests as significant barriers, leaving them little time to include any non-assessed content into the already busy curriculum. This kind of feedback might suggest that teachers don't place the same value of the kind of learning illicitly by video games as other forms of learning. While critical and creative thinking and problem solving can be difficult to assess. Now, these skills can feed into the holistic development of a student's learning skills. And if scaffolded effectively, then it can lead to a gain in grade points and improvement performance in standardized tests. Now, for costs, almost half of the teachers surveyed said that cost was a big concern when it comes to DGBL. Now, this may relate to devices and this software required to run a DGBL curriculum. Now, the report recommends greater alignment on a shared digital game-based teaching vision across all levels of the school system. Now, while investing in a computer suite or a set of laptops and software needed cost in the earth, consensus for the schools is required to make substantial investment into suitable technology that has the capacity to run the games that digital game-based educators have opted to use. Now, poor decisions and short-term investment in technology can lead to slow-performing games, poor graphic, freezing screen, and ultimately lead to frustration among students, negating the motivational and engagement impacts commonly seen in the DGBL courses. Now, for the curriculum, teachers is all service site concerned about being able to match game content to curriculum content and standard. Now, in the Level Up Learning survey, K-8 teachers aim to use games to cover the Common Core state standards. However, 4 out of 5 teachers say that it's hard to find curriculum-aligned game, and just 2 of the 5 believe that sufficient variety of such game even exists. The report's authors suggest the problem teachers face relate to, number 1 is integration. How do I integrate curricular concept with digital game-based learning? And number 2, discovery. How do I access the games that are pedagogically appropriate with my goals and the needs of my learners? Now, they make several recommendations in this area, suggesting that better pre-service training with formal DGBL to expose educators to the broader range of pedagogical strategies that can enhance and facilitate digital game interaction. Pre-service and professional development should help teachers reframe the ways in which they use video games in class, explore new pedagogies and approaches that help capitalize on what games are innately good at, rather than trying to use games like other classroom tools. Now, for teacher proficiency with technology, the report identified that only 8% of the educators surveyed had received any formal exposure to DGBL at pre-service education. This means that over 90% of teachers have had no pedagogical training or development in implementing DGBL. This affects teachers' ability to first analyze the educational potential of digital games for inclusion in the classroom. Second, to integrate video games into existing curriculum. And lastly, to account for conditions impacting the use of games in school contexts. Now, as a result, almost half go by what other teachers say when choosing an appropriate game to their learners, as well as how they learn to use games in instruction. Collegiate sharing of expertise and highly recommendable, but the report makes strong recommendation about the need for formal training programs as well as access to all online course in DGBL for teachers. Now, a number of reports exploring the use of digital games for learning in the classroom have identified a suite of similar challenges for education or educators face, including curricular, time pressure, costs, and teacher proficiency in selecting, integrating, and using games in pedagogically sound ways. In addition, these factors all appears to be related to wider institution and system level issues. Regardless of which of the barrier we choose to consider, there is clear need to address the policy and curriculum constraints created by education system if they are to be afforded the opportunity to realize the true potential of DGBL or digital game-based learning. Now, that's all I got for you today about the esports as a game-based learning, and I hope you learned a lot and you have gained something that could be useful, especially in using digital game-based learning in your school. Now, on our next series, next week we'll be talking about esports in the curriculum, and stay tuned for the next video. For inquiries, DM us at Felta Facebook page or email us at feltamultimedia@gmail.com. Thank you.